On a snowy Christmas Eve, weary waitress Emily Carter serves a struggling elderly couple in her quiet diner, secretly compassing their hunger with free meals from her aching heart. Little does she know, this act of pure kindness conceals a breathtaking secret that will shatter her world and flood it with miracles. Tears guaranteed. The bell above the cozy diner door chimed with a delicate, haunting melody, slicing through the profound stillness of Christmas Eve like a whispered plea from the past. Emily Carter wiped the scarred wooden counter for what seemed like the 100th time, her trembling fingers etching invisible trails of longing on its polished surface, where no trace of grime dared to remain. Outside, the world hung in a fragile, breathless hush, snowflakes tumbling gently like fragile confessions from a sorrowful sky. The family-run diner, tucked away on the edge of a quiet Midwestern town, radiated a soft golden glow, saturated with the soul-soothing scent of nutmeg-laced coffee and oven-fresh apple pies. Yet within its walls, an invisible weight of isolation pressed down, with only 2 tables claimed by lost wanderers escaping the biting frost. Emily smoothed her forest green apron, summoning a fragile smile that concealed the raw, throbbing pain in her chest. Compassion, her mother Susan had always murmured through quivering lips streaked with silent tears, was the unseen thread that bound fractured hearts together, especially when despair loomed like an endless night. Emily had been nurtured on stories of unyielding endurance, her early years interlaced with strands of quiet fortitude and boundless affection. Her father, John, had been stolen away far too prematurely by a merciless disease that left a wake of crushing debts and splintered aspirations. Susan, with her soft, weary eyes and hands roughened by endless toil, had instilled in Emily the art of perceiving the hidden scars that people bore, the subtle slump of shoulders under grief's heavy load, the evasive gazes that veiled depths of unspoken agony. That profound insight had steered Emily through her young adulthood, drawing her to this very diner where she endured grueling double shifts, her aching feet throbbing in protest with every weary step, all to shield her mother's fragile well-being from the onslaught of financial ruin. Hospital bills accumulated like relentless blizzards, burying hope beneath their icy layers, but Emily soldiered on, drawing comfort from the humble ritual of dishing out warmth in a bowl or cup. Christmas Eve offered meager gratuities, yet she held fast to the conviction that even in the grip of scarcity, a solitary gesture of empathy could kindle a flickering flame of renewal in the darkest soul. The door's chime echoed once more, a sound that sent an inexplicable chill racing down Emily's spine, as if destiny itself had issued a cryptic warning. An older couple crossed the threshold, pausing uncertainly like apparitions from a bygone time, their arrival stirring a palpable undercurrent of mystery in the air. The man, his faded overcoat fastened with painstaking precision against the unforgiving cold, gallantly held the door for his companion, his stance a brave defiance against the etchings of time on his rugged features. The woman, her woolen scarf tied with meticulous care, clasped her gloved hands tightly, yearning for solace beyond the diner's inviting heat. They shared a loaded glance, brimming with untold narratives of devotion forged in adversity, restraint born from dire necessity, before choosing the tiniest booth beside the frost-veiled window. Emily observed them discreetly, her heart constricting with an instinctive tug. Their dignified poise hinted at concealed heartaches, igniting a spark of intrigue that quickened her breath with unspoken anticipation. As they scanned the menu, their murmurs drifted like delicate petals in a storm, faint smiles veiling a profound reserve that clawed at Emily's spirit. She approached with a tenderness that masked her own swirling turmoil, her voice steady despite the knot tightening in her throat. "Good evening, dear folks. Merry Christmas Eve," she offered softly, her gaze locking with theirs in a moment pregnant with unforeseen fate. "Might I bring you something hot to ward off the winter's bite?" The man lifted his head, his eyes crinkling with a warmth that breached Emily's guarded walls. "2 teas, if you please, nothing fancy, just plain." His tone was roughened by years, resonant with the remnants of a life richly endured, yet laced with a fragility that pierced her like a dagger of shared sorrow. She nodded, withdrawing to the kitchen, where the rising steam from simmering kettles mirrored the haze clouding her thoughts. As she readied the mugs, she caught the woman's faint whisper, a poignant lament that shattered the quiet. We'll split one in tray, Henry. It's plenty for us, my love. The words lingered like a suspended sigh, a raw admission of humble sacrifice that mirrored Emily's own whispered pacts over scant suppers with Susan. Her footsteps halted, a torrent of compassion surging through her veins. How often had she and her mother echoed such vows in the dim light of their modest home? In that heart-wrenching instant, a fierce determination blazed within her, unquenchable and resolute. This sacred night, she swore inwardly, the clutches of deprivation would not ensnare another weary heart. Returning with the steaming teas, Emily set them down with exquisite gentleness, her hands hovering a heartbeat longer in silent offering. But as she pivoted away, the couple's intimate dialogue replayed in her mind, unleashing a maelstrom of feelings. What veiled tribulations had led them here, on this hallowed evening? The enigma gnawed at her, weaving a taut knot of suspense in her gut, as though the cosmos were crafting an intricate web she could scarcely glimpse. In the kitchen's sanctuary, Emily gazed at her notepad, the empty spaces taunting her indecision. The holiday menu board, decorated with whimsical holly that seemed to quiver in empathy, pulsed with latent promise. Her pulse thundered. What if her offering was spurned? What if it laid bare her own raw vulnerabilities? Yet, the haunting image of Susan's weakened frame in the sterile hospital bed, her once vibrant smile dimmed by relentless affliction, propelled her onward. With hands that shook like autumn leaves in a gale, she spooned 2 generous portions of savory beef stew, infused with fragrant spices that evoked memories of lost comforts and whispered healings. Carrying them forth, she placed them before the couple, her voice a mere breath. "Compliments of the house," she interjected, forestalling their objections. "It's Christmas Eve, and our chef made an abundance. Please, let this be a modest token of the season's spirit." The woman's eyes widened in astonishment, a glimmer of shock blending with burgeoning tears that threatened to spill. "Oh, we couldn't dream of," she faltered, her voice fracturing like brittle glass under pressure. Emily's smile held firm, woven with a compassion that veiled her own mounting tears. "I beg you, it would heal my soul more than any payment ever might." As they yielded, their fingers quivering as they grasped the spoons, Emily retreated to the counter, pretending absorption in scattered napkins. Yet her gaze betrayed her, stealing furtive looks as they relished each morsel. The subtle easing of Henry's rigid posture, the gentle exhalations of relief from Grace. It was as if the stew bore not merely sustenance, but shards of forgotten bliss. Tears strung Emily's eyes. In their quiet appreciation, she glimpsed echoes of her father's waning days, when a humble cup of broth had been his sole beacon in the encroaching shadows. The night deepened inexorably, the diner's lamps casting elongated silhouettes that waltzed with veiled enigmas. Emily's thoughts raced with unanswered queries. Who were they beneath the surface? Their polished etiquette jarred against their humble garb, heightening a subtle tension that accelerated her heartbeat. As the stew dishes cleared, she ventured her most daring act, emerging with 2 overflowing platters, tender herb-roasted turkey, velvety mashed potatoes laced with golden butter, and crisp vegetables shimmering like precious gems. Placing them down, she met their stares. "No soul should brave the darkness empty," she murmured, her tone thick with raw sentiment. "Not on an eve destined for wonders." Henry looked up, his eyes glistening with a profundity that stole Emily's very breath. "You are a guardian angel veiled in ordinary guise," he uttered, his words enveloping her heart like a tender embrace. "My wife, Grace, and I, this mercy will linger in our memories forever." They dined in hallowed quietude, exchanging looks that narrated volumes of love tempered by trials. Grace's hand would intermittently seek Henry's, a caress that conveyed epochs of mutual burdens and indestructible ties. Observing them, Emily felt a deep, aching void, a soul-stirring echo of the companionship she craved amid her tempest of obligations and hospital vigils. The suspense coiled tighter within her. Was this merely a transient encounter, or the prelude to something transformative? Upon finishing, Grace rummaged in her purse with hesitant grace, her actions infused with touching vulnerability. Emily hastened over, her heart hammering like a drum of fate. "Please, forget the check," she urged gently. "This evening, it's my heartfelt offering to you." Grace's lips trembled, tears sparkling like stars in the subdued light. "Darling girl, this is overwhelmingly kind, too profound for our battered spirits." Emily shook her head, her own eyes brimming with unshed grief. Compassion isn't tallied in dollars, it's the beacon we ignite when oblivion encroaches. Allow me this, as others have illuminated my path in my bleakest times. They acquiesced, sentiments swirling in the atmosphere like the flurries beyond. Before exiting, Henry slipped something into Emily's hand, his clasp steady yet infused with gentle pathos. "For your infinite grace," he breathed, his voice cracking with barely contained emotion. Emily held her composure until the door's chime faded, resounding like a poignant farewell. Unclenching her fist, she discovered a modest card etched with soulful script. "In a chilled world, your radiance revived our belief. With eternal thanks." No money, just unadulterated feeling that lanced through her core. She pocketed it, a solitary tear carving a path down her cheek, sensing an ethereal buoyancy amidst her burdens. The evening concluded in contemplative hush, Emily assisting the chef in cleanup, bidding adieu as the diner plunged into silence. Venturing into the crystalline night, holiday lights flickering like earthly constellations, she permitted herself a fleeting respite of vulnerable serenity. Compassion, she rediscovered with aching clarity, possessed the power to suture the deepest wounds in us all. Christmas morning dawned crisp and brimming with tentative vows, yet Emily's spirit quivered with resonant aftershocks from the prior eve. As she turned the key in the diner's lock, her breath hitched at the vision of a luxurious black limousine idling across the road, its sleek form starkly incongruous among the modest shops. A shiver of foreboding slithered up her spine. Who might this signify? Had her benevolent deed summoned unforeseen repercussions? She banished the notion, immersing in routine tasks, but the door's chimes soon ruptured the tranquility. Two sharply attired individuals entered, trailed by Henry and Grace, now enveloped in bespoke wool coats and polished footwear that bespoke concealed opulence. Emily stiffened, her reality teetering precariously, bewilderment surging like a rogue wave. "Good morning," Henry greeted warmly, his timbre resolute yet threaded with a suspenseful edge that accelerated her pulse. "Good morning," Emily stuttered, her mind a whirlwind. Did the meal touch you last night?" Grace's laughter was gentle, melodic, yet imbued with a resonance that tugged relentlessly at Emily's heartstrings. "Beyond expression, my dear, infinitely more than you could fathom." One of the suited gentlemen advanced, his bearing expert yet compassionate. "I'm David Harrington, representing the Weston Foundation." The title struck Emily like lightning. The Weston Foundation, celebrated nationwide for its life-altering benevolence, uplifting the overlooked and igniting dormant dreams. Henry cleared his throat, his gaze piercing hers with an intensity that amplified the unbearable tension. "We never meant to mislead you, Emily. Last night was intended as a humble retreat, a tender nudge toward humanity's essence." Grace seized Emily's hands, her touch warm and affirming, yet charged with fervor that summoned fresh tears to Emily's eyes. "We hold abundances beyond imagination, but what you bestowed, raw, untainted mercy, cannot be bartered with wealth." David proffered a pristine envelope, his voice unwavering. "The Foundation extends a complete scholarship for your studies, if you wish, and full coverage for your mother's treatments. No obligations, it's our tribute to your luminous soul." Emily's sight blurred with cascading tears, her whisper choked by incredulity. "I acted not for gain. I simply couldn't endure the idea of isolation on such a sacred night." "We understand," Henry responded, his eyes misting with shared vulnerability. "That's exactly why we've come. Your essence perceived past facades, stirring ours in ways long dormant." As they detailed their visions, to fortify the diner, launch neighborhood nourishment programs, and fund awards for hidden champions like Emily, the ambience thickened with poignant disclosures. Emily absorbed it all, engulfed by a deluge of sentiments, profound thankfulness intertwined with lament for bygone sorrows, suspense dissolving into exquisite alleviation. Images of Susan's restoration, of tomorrow's liberated from debt's chains, swirled in her thoughts, each a tear-laced marvel. When they left, the diner appeared reborn, enveloped in ethereal luminescence. Emily stepped outdoors, grasping the document like a sacred relic, not as a claim, but as irrefutable evidence that empathy echoes infinitely. That Christmas, Beneath the sparkling illuminations and soft snowfall, Emily embraced an eternal verity. Compassion craves no ovation. It emerges unheralded, warm and unshakable, akin to a communal repast in midnight's embrace. And when extended without reserve, it rebounds abundantly, a torrent of aspiration that repairs shattered essences and brightens the most secluded recesses of the human spirit. Ultimately, it affirms that even in our frailest instants, we are never utterly forsaken. Affection's reverberations persist, eternally weaving us into a mosaic of redemption.